Hello everybody and welcome to Rulebreaker. Today I'm doing something with the Nekro Virus. I thought it would be fun to look at all of the different combos that you can achieve with their technology, their race technology, the Valefar Assimilators, and see if you guys have any better ideas that you can teach me about as well after the fact. So let's have a look. Just a quick reminder what their tech actually is. So these guys are all about copying other players' racial techs. They have two of these. The example on screen is the Y version. So it's when you would gain another player's technology using one of your faction abilities, you may place the Y assimilator token on a faction technology owned by that player instead. While that token is on a technology, this card gains that technology's text. You cannot place an assimilator token on technology that already has an assimilator token. So yeah, like when somebody builds one of their racial techs, stick a token on it, and this is a copy of it, basically. And something to keep in mind about the Nekro Virus before we talk about this is just their abilities. They can't vote on agendas, so anything to do with agendas doesn't really apply. Their technological singularity, which is interesting. Once per combat, after one of your opponent's units is destroyed, you may gain one technology that is owned by that player. So just to bear in mind that you need to lose a unit in a fight with somebody in order to gain the technology. And then propagation, not that important for this exercise, but just that you can't research technology, and then instead of doing the research technology strategy card, you gain 3 tokens instead. And something I wanted to point out as well, before you think about this too much, is just their flagship, the Alistor, has the ability at the start of a space combat, choose any number of your ground forces in the system to participate in that combat as if they were ships. And that's important because some of the combos really combo well with the flagship, as I'm about to show you. So let's see. First one, after another player activates your system. So this is a common theme in some of the different racial techs. Like for example, the main one that I'm going to focus on for this is the XJazz nullification field, which is after another player activates a system that contains one or more of your ships. You can exhaust this card and spend a token from your strategy pool and immediately end that player's turn. That is so annoying when it happens to you when you're fighting against the XJazz. Imagine what it's like when you're fighting against the Nekro Virus. And also imagine what it's like when they combo that up with ERES siphons from the Universities of Jolnar, which reads, after another player activates a system that contains one or more of your ships, gain 4 trade goods. So if you combo up nullification field with ERES siphons, you're ending your opponent's turn and you're gaining 4 trade goods. So that is extra annoying. Another one that combos really well in this area is the Neuroglaive from the Nalu Collective. After another player activates a system that contains one or more of your ships, that player removes 1 token from his fleet pool and returns it to his reinforcements. So you can be really mean by using Neuroglaive and Nullification Field if you're fighting against XJazz and Nalu opponents who have built these. Your opponent would have to end their turn after activating the system and lose 1 of their tokens from their fleet pool. Ugh, that is a horrible thing. That's such a deterrent. An absolute nightmare. And that just highlights how important it is when you're fighting against a Nekro player, which technologies to build and more importantly which ones not to build. So any combinations of these are really fun and super annoying if you're fighting against it. I had another idea, absolute swarm of fighters I call this one. So if you're fighting against the Sol player and they've built Advanced Carrier 2, if you have a look at the capacity there, capacity 8 is really nice, especially if you combo that up with the Nalu's Hybrid Crystal Fighter 2. So these guys are super strong fighters. They have 7 combat. They can also move 2 all by themselves, and if you look at their ability, this unit may move without being transported. Each fighter in excess of your ship's capacity counts as half of a ship against your fleet pool. So if you use the Advanced Carrier in a system with a bunch of these fighters, you can have 8 before you even have to worry about going over your fleet limit, and then for every unit over that it's only half. So like if you've got a fleet capacity of 3, this can be 12 fighters in the one system, all hitting on a 7. So yeah, that's fascinating. If I ever get the chance to do this, I'm gonna jump on that as Necro. So Sol players and Nalu players, beware. This could happen to you someday. Oh yeah, so this is another idea I had around trade goods, which I call a FERENGI'S vault of trade goods. E-res siphons, which we just saw a minute ago, which is after another player activates a system that contains one or more of your ships, gain 4 trade goods. Combo that up with mirror computing from the Mentak Coalition. When you spend trade goods, each trade good is worth 2 resources or influence instead of 1. So that's like basically 8 value of influence or resources whenever someone activates your system. Absolutely crazy. Like, it's basically infinite money, really, when you think about it. So Mentak players and Jolnar players, be very, very careful if you're fighting in the same game and you're fighting against Necro. The next one is hand-to-hand combat. So this is all to do with ground forces. Sardek Nor have the really interesting one, the Valkyrie Particle Weave, which reads, after making combat rolls during a round of combat, if your opponent produced 1 or more hits, you produce 1 additional hit. So lots of hits as ground forces. Really, really nice. Combo that up with Spec Ops 2 from the Sol, and that makes them extra strong. They're hitting on a 6. So if they roll a 6, that's 2 hits for each single one of those ground forces on your planet. And bear in mind the flagship, which is at the start of space combat, choose any number of your ground forces in the system to participate in that combat as if they were ships. So these dudes, you could stick loads of these dudes down on a planet, like Mechatol Rex maybe, for example, if you want to defend that. And then when your opponents fly in, you can choose any number of them, and if they're comboed like this with the Valkyrie Particle Weave and the Spec Ops 2, they are super strong as ships and then as ground forces after the fact. So that's a very annoying thing to have to deal with if you're fighting against the Necro. This one is Constant Self-Replication, which is Litani Warrior 2, which is the Arborex special infantry. These guys are really good for mainly because of the production too. You can just constantly build with them, and you can build more of themselves as you build them, and as you do that, you just multiply the number of dudes or plant dudes on a planet. But also, if you combat that with the Yin Spinner from the Yin Brotherhood, which is after 1 or more of your units use production, place an infantry from your reinforcements on a planet you control in that system. You're just multiplying even faster, and you're creating this crazy infinite terror of ground forces tokens on a planet. And then comboing that up with the flagship, they can act as ships as well as ground forces. So yeah, that's terrifying in lots of ways. So there you go. That's a few ideas I have. It's a quick video. Just some interesting combos with Necro technology. If you have any really fun ideas, stick them in the comments and let me know, and I'd love to try them out sometime. And let's see if somebody can pick the best one. Like, if you have a favorite one, let me know in the comments as well, and we'll talk about that one in more detail maybe another time. So yeah, there you go. Many reasons why I hate the Nekro Virus. These are some of them, and why they're hated by most tables, I think. So yeah, do let me know what you think of these, and if you've spotted any other really good ones. Thanks very much.